All right, welcome to the All Things Performance Podcast. I'm here once again with Jeffrey Birthwright, aka Birf.
What up? What up?
What's happening, man? You all right?
I'm cool. How you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing
Good.
good. You know, we've talked about different topics, and today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about confidence. You and I have briefly talked about confidence before, and when you start looking, you know me, I'm big on definitions, man. Because if you don't understand definitions, you cannot understand concepts. And if you can't understand concepts, we can't talk about philosophy, right? So it's very interesting when you start looking at words, when you know what they actually means, it changes the way that you see things. And so confidence is the level of certainty that you have in someone or something.
Okay.
That's what it is. It's your level of certainty. If you have, when Shaquille O'Neal, you know, God bless him, you know what I'm saying? I know that's your Q brother, you know what I'm saying? When Shaquille O'Neal used to go to the free throw line when he was playing, right? The level of confidence, the level of certainty rather, in the arena was probably not that high. You know what I mean? But when you get somebody like Seth Curry, you know what I'm saying? Or Steph Curry rather, I'm sorry.
Or Seth.
Or Seth, because they both great at the free throw line, right? Our level of certainty when they go to shoot is high. And so I want us to talk about confidence, and I want us to talk about, you know, you said something prior that I want to revisit. You said that the number one killer of confidence in young people is who?
Is us.
You said that, yeah, but more specifically, you were talking about a group of people.
The older generation. The older generation, because they'll be the first ones to tell you what you're not. And I don't know if that's to protect you from getting arrogant, but the older generation, or they just might not be trying to let it go.
Yeah.
Like, man, LeBron James are right, man, but if you ain't seen nobody till you seen Dr. J, you know what I mean? So while they both had their time and everything, but I think a lot of the older generation, sometimes if you're not careful, they just don't want to give these young folks their flowers. And I think with them, a lot of it is, I don't want you to forget about me.
That's a good point.
I think I just don't want to be forgotten. And even if you go to like nursing homes and, you know, when, you know, God bless her, when my grandmother was alive, I made sure every time I go home, I went to go see her. And a lot of the older people who helped, you know, because I didn't want them to feel forgotten. Even now, I'll call somebody randomly just so that they know that they're not forgotten. So I think the older people, they definitely don't encourage you as they should, because they don't want to be forgotten.
Yeah.
So it hurts your confidence moving forward, because I'm like, yo, I did everything to please this person or to make them happy, and it's not happening. You know what I mean? Like I want them to be happy with my performance, but all they do is constantly tear down, and don't build me up. My confidence ain't there. Never feel like I'm good enough. And even parents do the same thing. Parents don't want their kids to be. Some parents, they knock them down because they don't want them to feel so arrogant that they can't speak to them. So let me just continue to tear you down. Like, so I think that's something that we got to eradicate. We got to kill that, because who's gonna take care of us when we get older? You know what I mean? It's these younger ones, and if we keep tearing them down, and you could even see it in the sports debates, where who's better, LeBron James or Michael Jordan. The fact that that's even a conversation, and in order for somebody to be on top, we got to tear down the other person.
Yes.
And I think that has to stop, because I think that both. First of all, we shouldn't even be debating them two at all. I don't think they're comparable at all. But just like, you know, we shouldn't be comparing Biggie and Tupac.
Hey, different podcast, man. Different
For sure,
podcast.
for sure,
That's
for sure.
funny, man. That's funny.
But Joe, but tell me what's your thoughts on it? Like, tell me what you think about it.
In terms of what specifically?
Just like, where does the confidence come from, and how does it get affected?
Yeah, so, you know, it's crazy when you start looking at confidence. We all get confidence, or we think we get confidence from, you know, different areas, right? And some confidence is it's true, it's solid, you can build upon it, and then, you know, some confidence is ephemeral, it's fleeting. You know, we've all been there, man. When we come into the locker room, you know, the clubhouse, you know, whatever sport that you played, and you were having the greatest day of your life. You were having the greatest week, the greatest month. You come into the locker room, and somebody says something to you that just totally deflates you, or they look at you a certain way, or they treat you a certain way, right? And all of a sudden, all that confidence that you had, you just feel like you're 2 inches tall, and you sitting there asking yourself, like, why would this person say that? Why would they do that, right? And conversely, we've all had those times and those days where we've been going through a tough stretch, man. We've been going through a hard time. It's been a tough month. We may have lost a loved one. We may have been going through something at home, right? And then we come into the clubhouse, we come into the locker room, we come in, to our domain as athletes, and then somebody sees you. One of your teammates says, "Hey, man, Birf, I've been watching, man. Hey, keep your head up, bruh. Like, you gonna come through this. You gonna be all right, man. I'm praying for you. I got you. If you need anything, I got you." Yeah. And what does that do to our confidence? It elevates and boosts us up
through the roof.
Confidence is so fleeting, but people build it on the wrong things.
Yeah.
And so when you start looking at, I like to give people this acronym of BEAST, BEAST. So this is how you build confidence from a scientific standpoint, and we're going to talk about the other part here in a second. But from a scientific standpoint, body language. Did you know that your resting levels of testosterone are impacted by how you stand, how you walk?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Dr. Amy Cuddy has done some tremendous work, man, on presence and body language. And when you have dominant body language, it also affects your resting levels of testosterone. And testosterone, as we know, is the hormone that's related to strength, vitality, vigor, power, which we want, right? We want that as athletes.
Yeah.
The opposite of that is cortisol. Cortisol has its benefits, but it's usually referred to as the fear hormone. Okay. So when we are fearful, or when we're unsure of ourselves, or when we're scared, what does cortisol do? It shoots up. So we have closed off posture. You know what I'm saying? We're not expansive with our body language. So the first letter in that acronym is B, beast, or of the BEAST acronym is body language. The next one is E, our environment, right? What does your home life look like? Is it healthy? You know what I'm saying? When you come into the locker room, when you come into the dugout, when you come onto the field, when you're on the sidelines with your teammates, are you speaking life? Are you empowering? Are you energizing? Are you breaking people down? Right? What type of environment are you creating? What type of environment are you in? The only thing that can make a seed grow faster is a good environment.
Right.
Right?
For sure.
The A is affirmations. Affirmations are short, quick, powerful, truthful statements that you make about yourself to yourself. As a man thinks, so is he.
Right.
Man, this sucks. Man, this is trash. Man, it's hot outside. It's trash. You know what I mean? Like, whatever you say, whatever you feed will grow. So those affirmations, which I'm gonna get can I get scientific for just 15 seconds, bro?
Yeah, please do.
For just 15 seconds. So the limbic system, which is in our brain, our limbic system is responsible for human behavior, or human responses. And our limbic system is attached very closely to our auditory system, which is how we speak. And the things that you say are directly impacting your limbic system. And so, in my opinion, I can't speak for no other person, but apart from God, your voice is the most powerful voice that you will ever hear in this lifetime. And if you are telling yourself that you suck, that you're trash, that this is tough, I can never do this, this always happens, that's what's gonna happen.
Okay.
So those affirmations, those things that you say to yourself are very powerful.
So it's almost like you gotta think about what you think about. And
100%.
yeah.
Even like, even in the Bible, right? Paul says, let the weak say I am what? Strong.
I'm strong, right.
Let the weak say I'm strong. Let the poor say I am rich, right? It's just like, as a man thinks, so is he. Like, whatever you think about, the process, a lot of us, when we start talking about athletics, right, performance is the last thing that happens in the chain of events for an athlete. We get paid on hitting home runs, sinking free throws, running touchdowns. That's what athletes get paid on, is their performance. But it's the last thing in the chain. The first thing is think. The second thing is say, and the last thing is do. The ultimate performance. Think, say, do. And when things get tough, you know what happens? We want to do. Oh, let me go run some more routes. Let me go shoot some more free throws. Let me go take some more swings. We want to do. No, dog, it starts up here.
All right.
You're going to say something.
Nah, you said think,
say,
and do.
And do.
That's almost biblical. Seed, time, harvest.
There you go, bro.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying? So in that BEAST acronym, you got body language, you have environment, you have affirmations. The S is sights, or what I like to call visualization. So sights, seeing those things that aren't as though they are.
Yeah, all right.
So when you visualize, like nobody ever gets a pair of binoculars, you know what I'm saying, and says, "Oh, hey Johnny, look at all these ants on the ground. Look at that blade. Look at those blades of grass. Ah, they're just so beautiful. Look at how the sun just hits them."
Right, they use it to see.
No one gets binoculars and starts looking at the ground, bro, or short distance. You get binoculars to see things that are present, but they're just not near you yet.
Right.
They're still there,
got
but they're in the environment. They just have not. You're not close to them yet.
Okay.
So when you visualize, there's all kinds of science behind visualization. But when you visualize, you're literally lighting up the cortical regions in your brain that you would be lighting up when you're doing the activity itself. This is science, bro. This was around before you and I were here.
Yeah.
Right. And then the last thing, these are all scientific ways to build confidence.
So we got body language, environment, affirmations,
Yep.
sights, and the last one
is triumphs.
triumph.
What have you done well in the past?
Okay.
Albert Bandura, a famous psychologist, has stated that one of the biggest wells, one of the biggest places that we can draw confidence from is what we have done well in the past. He calls them performance accomplishments, or what I call triumphs. This is the same reason why every team starts off the year with a what? Highlight reel.
Okay.
Let's watch the highlight tape during a team dinner. Or when it's awards time, what do? We watch the highlight tape.
All right.
Because what does it do to the morale of the room?
Right. Brings it up.
It brings it up. What have you done well in the past? If you're ever struggling, always think about what you've done well in the past.
I got you.
So that acronym BEAST helps us to build confidence. And when you start looking at the flip side of that, the Hollywood side, right? When we watch movies, man, how do people build confidence when you watch a movie? How does Hollywood portray it?
It's what they have already. It's like some stuff that, like, or they got Space Jam. Remember they had the space. They had the water, but he put like energy drink or something, like whatever Michael Jordan put on there. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you said how do they get confidence?
We usually see what? Money.
Right, money. Yeah, of course.
Women. Right. Fame. Cars.
Like that feel good stuff.
It builds. People thinks it's building confidence, but it's ephemeral, it's fleeting, and it's really building ego.
Right. There you go. I think that it shows more ego than it does. Absolutely.
And the areas that we just talked about, the BEAST acronym, that's when you build on a solid ground. You can build those, on solid ground. And there's something that's even more solid than that stuff, right? And that's our trust, faith, confidence, hope.
Yes.
In something bigger than us, right? And we won't get into all that right now, but a lot of times people, they build confidence on those fleeting things, the way that they look, their hair. You know how you go get lined up at the barber.
Fam,
hey,
yes.
You know what I'm saying? Just crispy, just coming out crispy. You know what I mean?
Right. Look at
we building our looks, our money, the things that we have, but those things are fleeting. Because guess what, bro? In 2 more weeks, bro, you don't have to go see your barber again, bro.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Nah, I'm out. Give me 5 days.
You know what I mean? So those things are very important. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, because you have a lot of experience in this area, being an educator of 20 years. How do we build confidence in the privileged versus the underprivileged? And I'm going to take it a step further, because a lot of times when people hear that term, right, what do? We go to race, right?
Yeah,
we go to the black and brown kids versus the white kids. But it's deeper than that.
No.
You got the privileged, you got the underprivileged, you got the rich and the poor, you got the networked, and you got the unconnected, right? There's these dichotomy of classes, these dichotomies of people that exist in every pocket of society, and they all navigate confidence differently. I want you to talk about that, man.
So to me, like, one of the things that that you want to see is how fast can you bounce back. Nobody's gonna write. You know, you got some teachers who, no matter what you do, you're never gonna get 100.
No doubt.
So the question is not what do you do wrong. It's just like how do you bounce back.
Yeah.
What's your perspective when things aren't going well? How do you see things so I can get back on track? So, to me, like the kid, what the privilege have is, unfortunately, they just have more resources. So, if I write a paper and it doesn't go right, well, let me go back to the footnotes and see what they have. The underprivileged kids might not have those footnotes, so they got to find a way, and they just keep running to the same brick wall unless somebody like, hey, you need to kind of adjust. If they're not told to adjust, they don't have nothing to adjust to, or might not know how. So if you see one of those kids that write a paper and, okay, I wrote the paper, I didn't do well. Let me take out this other supplemental piece of information that will help me so I can compare the two and see what I need to write. They might have the rubric while the underprivileged kids might not. So one of the things that they can do is, once again, just see how they bounce back. You want to see what can I do or what have I done to bounce back, to get me back on track. Some kids can't. Some kids, the underprivileged, whether it be, I don't know, kid with race, they just can't bounce back. They have a hard time bouncing back, and you waste time focusing on the problem than you do the solution. So now we write this paper, which is not a bad paper, but it's not what you expect it to be. And so once you do that, I don't know where to go. I don't know where to go. And some of the underprivileged kids can't even ask for help. They don't know how to ask for help. And they don't even know what help is, because to them, help looks different than what the privileged kids call help. So all those things come into a factor. So just a conversation.
So how do we, when, those are some great points, man. I love what you said about the footnotes, right? It's just like, hey, I don't have resources.
Right.
So when I fail, or when somebody tells me that I fail, I don't even know what I don't even, like, you got to show me. So my question to you is, how do we identify that in terms of, it doesn't matter if you're black, white, it doesn't matter if you're, male, female, if you're in a position and you see this happening, how do we identify it, and how do we help build the confidence up? How do we intervene, man?
Well, one way that we could identify it is, I'm big on watching, but I'm a teacher, so I watch when you come in, I watch when you get off the bus, I watch how you walk in the classroom, I watch how you interact with your peers. So I watch, and if I see something a little off, hey, Joe, let me talk to you for a minute. Come outside, let me talk to you for a minute. Hey, what's really going on? And if you don't want to say, and so you got to be okay with being transparent with them and having them be transparent with you. So talking that real, like, the conversation on real love helps. Real love, to me, is one of the biggest things that you need to overcome that.
What is that? What is real love?
Real
what does
love,
that mean?
like,
what does that
listen,
mean?
I don't care what you say. I don't care what you did. I want to help you regardless, without judgment. Especially nowadays, because everything is based on judgment. And I think one of the things that make me a successful educator is there is no judgment. I don't care. I'm here to help. So if you're able to identify an issue with someone, or with a child, with a kid, whether it be on sports, whether it be in the classroom, if you're able to see it, you identify it, and just because you see it, that might be enough. I didn't know I was even being seen.
I like that.
Because a lot of kids, they just think that they're out here, like, nobody sees me. I'm doing my best and nobody sees me. Hey, Joe, I see you, and it looks like you're having a rough time. Let's talk about it real quick. It means the world to them. So now you taking them and you give me the attention that I need, because might not be getting it at home, or I might not be getting it where I need it.
Yeah.
So you see it, and then you also, and you cultivate. You make sure they have the right environment. You make sure that they're getting the proper resources that you need. Because the reality is, whether you're privileged or underprivileged, if Maslow's hierarchy isn't met, then nothing else matters.
Yeah.
If you hungry, school don't matter.
Exactly.
If you got the same clothes, nothing matters. If you smell, you ain't take a shower in 4 days, nothing matters.
That's right.
I don't care how well you do. So if it's able to identify Just those basic things, and you will be surprised. What do you need? And we got to ask the right questions. We have to ask the right questions. And I haven't looked it up yet, but I am sure, in my experience, my 20 years of teaching, you cannot ask boys and girls the same questions. You cannot ask them the same questions.
Yeah.
If you ask a boy an emotional question, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna get, I don't know.
Yeah. Or hey, how you feeling today? Oh, I'm good.
Right.
I'm good.
Cliche.
I'm straight. I'm good.
Cliche. So if we identify these issues, and
Yeah.
whether privileged or underprivileged kids, that's one thing. Identifying it that's the biggest thing. And what we do about it, what they have, what can they do with it is based on what they have. So you can't tell an underprivileged kid, like, hey, go to the most expensive place and get this. Like, they won't do that. Even if we talk sports, a lot of the privileged kids get the one-on-one training. And the underprivileged kids either got to go to their coach or they got to figure it out their own.
Yeah.
So what do you need? How can I help you? How can I be a support to you? Let me give you these resources that could possibly help you.
Man, you said a lot there, man. I like what you said about love. You know, I think that term is diluted. When I look at love, like true love, what's true love? True love is the sacrificial giving of oneself for the benefit of others. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Like, I love you so much that I'm going to sacrifice this for your benefit. And
Absolutely.
no greater love. I love the Bible verse that talks about no greater love than a man, than this, that he lays his life down for his friend. You know what I'm saying? And it's one of those things where, for me, sacrifice, when you start looking at sacrifice, it's equivalent to love. The more that you love, the more that you give.
Absolutely.
Right? I hope I never have to do this, but if I have to lay my life down for my wife and for my kids, I'm gonna have to do that because I love them so much. There's certain things that I love my family so much that I must do these things. And conversely, there's certain things that I love my family so much that I must not do these things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's funny. I was just talking to one of my young little mentees, and I was telling him, like, yo, you never know, you don't know what real love is until you have a child. When you have a child, that is ultimate. Like, I have no problem laying down my life down for my child.
Yeah.
None at all. But also when an important aspect that I mentioned earlier is non-judgmental. Like, you cannot love somebody and judge them. It's to me, that's impossible.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what they do.
It's
like it doesn't even matter what they do. It's just like my kids, right? It's just like, all right, you did something stupid, but guess what? You're still my kid, and I still love you. Like, it don't matter what you do. Like, I still love you. You know, this has been a really good conversation. I got something for you as we get ready to close.
What you got?
When it comes to confidence versus conviction, so we talked about confidence is the level of certainty that you have in something. Conviction, how I usually define it is it's how strongly you hold on to something, right? So if I have this phone, right, and I say, hey man, take this phone, right? Come on, man, take this phone. Come on, bruh.
Right now, you got it. You're pretty strong right there.
Hey, but that's the thing though, right? With conviction is how strongly you hold on. It's like a different species of confidence. Some people are confident. Yeah, my jumper is wet. You know what I'm saying? Like, or I'm gonna kick this field goal through. You know what I'm saying? Adam Vinatieri, like 10 for 10. Like, they're confident in their skills. But some people don't have a high level of conviction, and conviction is how strongly you hold on to that confidence. How strongly you will not let go. And I hate to say, but there's been a lot of people who've lost their lives, right? Who've given up and paid the ultimate price for their confidence with this thing called conviction. And I want you to just, open up in terms of, how important do you think conviction is? The majority of our listeners are athletes and former athletes, but I want to open this up to you being an educator. How important do you think conviction is in performance or in the end game?
Conviction is, I think it's a gift and a curse. And one of the things about when we talk about conviction, what I see is, even as a player gets older, their convictions, like I can still do this. They hold on to it, with ultimate, like, hey, Dr. J is not jumping from the free throw line right now, like he did in the '80s. So it's a good thing and it's a bad thing, because especially now with sports talk radio, if you don't have that conviction in your abilities, then they can talk you right out your game. First take and all those, the first things first and everything like that. If you listen to that, if you don't have the conviction on what you have, what your ability is, then, the talk, the conversations that's being said about you will totally pull you out your game. And I think that, so it's a good thing. Mm-hmm. But it's a bad thing is when your time is up, you got that conviction saying, I'm still the guy. It hurts you. So, and even in schools where the one thing that I always tell the kids, you have to be able to adjust. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't have that conviction and not adjust. Especially now with teaching, we have Common Core math, we have all these other things, and you got the conviction that vertical math is the only way that there is. No one, it's changed. Yeah. So you're gonna have to let that go. So certain things you're gonna have to let go, and whether you be an athlete, whether you be a student, adjustments is part of the game. Mm-hmm. Adjustments is part of the game. Adjustments is part of life.
So you just can't run, ISO.
We can't run the wing tee. We can't run the wedge. Like, there's no way. There's no way you can continue to run the same thing. You can't keep running the motion, the Princeton motion offense whole time. Like, because now what that also does is that cripples you, because you're not ready for what can come next. Because all you know how to run that wing tee. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't prepare you for what's next. You're good for right now, but what's next you're not good for. Or you can't transition, or you're not going to be able to adjust.
So so what I hear you saying is, it's okay for you to have confidence and conviction.
Yes.
But you also have to be able to adjust, or you're going to get left behind.
You have to. You have to, because the situation. We're progressive people, and things change, things move.
Can I ask you this, though?
Yes, sir.
Can you have a high level of conviction and still not buy into change? So, and to adjust, right? So, because you and I, we would probably consider ourselves old school in the way that we do things, right?
Yeah.
So, in the way that we think, how we were raised, we talked about this on prior podcasts. Mm-hmm. Can you still be that old school type coach? Because there's a lot of those dudes in NFL. No. Popovich in the NBA. There's a lot of old school coaches that they have conviction in terms of their methodology, their play calling. But I think that the ones that have survived are the ones who've had to adjust to dealing with the modern day athlete. Can you have both?
So we're gonna just talk about coach for a little bit. I've seen Nick Saban change so much. And there hasn't been a better coach, as far as even on paper.
That's a good point.
He has changed so much, and I credit those dudes like Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick ain't changing for nothing to nobody, which is fine. But how long can he do that? And then, like, we can't coach or teach or talk to these kids the same way. And if you do, you will lose them. You will lose them, and your level of influence will be gone. So no, you have to adjust your confidence, your convictions. They have to adjust with your environment, and they have to progress with the times. They cannot stay the same. Because if that's the case, then we'll still be. The principles don't change. Now understand, the principles don't change. Vince Lombardi did a great job of laying down principles, which was great. However, we're not coaching like Vince Lombardi anymore. We're not coaching like, what's my man name with the towel? Tarkanian.
My goodness!
You know what I'm saying?
He took it way back.
Like we're not doing that no more. John Thompson. The principles are the same, but how we execute those principles are completely different.
And I think the reason why they are is because of people.
Absolutely.
People are different. Like, people are unique, and everyone is one of one, and everything comes back down to people.
Yes.
So I love that, man. For my guest, my co-host, my friend, my teammate, Jeffrey Birthwright, aka Birf. This is Josiah Igono of the All Things Performance Podcast, and we'll talk to you soon.